Good morning, afternoon or evening, and welcome to another 0AD Alpha 23 replay analysis. Now, as a a request from a guy called Sershock, I'm not sure exactly how you pronounce it. I'm going to be looking at Britons today, so I'll be playing as Britons against another guy called Luca Parra, who will be Athenians, and it's an opportunity to go through really what the Britons offer and what you need to do to make the most of them. Now, the most obvious thing with Britons is that they need wood, so this sort of map is ideal for that. Plenty of wood around, whereas the mainland maps, the ones that are generated, they used to have a lot more wood than they do now, so that's going to make a big difference actually. So if you are going to play as Britons, think about that before you go on to mainland, because you can end up getting stuck with needing lots of wood and having to go a long way to get it, and people can easily cut off your supply. So this match here, I followed my normal sort of build routine. So the 4 soldiers go off to build a storehouse near the biggest section of wood, and I'll just show you what I could actually see. They're shortly followed by 4 women. The first thing I do actually before absolutely anything else is to order 4 women from the town centre, and then look around to see what we're going to do in terms of where to build the storehouse and the farmstead, and also where I'm going to actually look at expanding and so on. So I then get another horse, so the cavalrymen, and then they pick up the chickens relatively quickly. Now normally on these maps you have lots and lots of camels around, but it's a strange coincidence this one, or not a coincidence or whatever, but a strange situation was that wasn't the case with this particular map. So I instinctively went and got my sort of cavalrymen and started building more of them, only to find that there weren't actually any camels around. So with nothing else to hunt, they're not that useful. So what I've done here to try and give them to they'll just sent them off looking for camels, and instantly found that strangely we've spawned right next to the opposition. So I thought, well, I've got 3 horses here, we're only under 2 minutes in, he's unlikely to have a lot of people, and lo and behold he doesn't. So instantly just take out the 2 pikemen, because if you can get rid of those, they're the only people that can really hurt the cavalry, and you'll see that in a pure fight between those two slingers or javelineers are going to just go. I can't remember that. I think they are slingers actually for the Athenians. But while all of that was going on, I sent these guys off searching, forgot about them, and they ended up coming here to attack. So I've been focused over there, and they've now just going to get themselves killed. They're being shot from the town centre, although they're going to take out some of the women first. And off comes another pikeman to get rid of them. So because I'd forgotten about those guys, and I was focused on micromanaging the others, I've got almost 2.5 times the population that my opponent has, but it's not been a great start. But as with all these things, you badly need to get food and wood at stage 1. So because of that, I've decided normally I would have the horses being able to get more like food from hunt, but they're not able to do that in this particular instance. So I've put the women that I'd normally have had getting wood onto food, and I have decided that because we have quite a lot of wood, we've done quite well. I've got the first food upgrade quite quickly. I'm going to get some slingers because they don't require a lot of wood, and get them to build a barracks so that we can start producing even more soldiers more quickly. So I want to develop as quickly as possible, realizing that my opponent is right next to me, even though he's not developing that quickly at this stage, but he's quite new to the game. But it's because of that, it's quite helpful to use this as a good example of how you would approach a strategy with this civilization. So I've got, if we look here, 6 of those are actually there. So we've got 6 people collecting wood, which is actually plenty at the moment. They're doing it at a good rate. I've got plenty of houses, and I'm now going to start producing slingers because they don't cost much wood. So what you'll also have to do quite early on, because slingers are particularly helpful, they can take down buildings, they can do all kinds of stuff that other people, like your soldiers, can't do. So they're even quite helpful against rams, potentially, at actually attacking them from range. They won't destroy them, but they'll damage them sufficiently that even if they're protected by other infantry or something, you can still hopefully destroy them before they get to your fortress or your town centre. So they're helpful in that thing. But one of the key things that you will need to do is start getting stone much earlier than you would with other civilizations. So I'll just speed this up ever so slightly. So you just want to very, very quickly, so at this point I'm only 5 minutes in, because of the lack of hunt stuff, I've not produced any more cavalry because that's not particularly useful, and instead I've gone very, very early into farms. You wouldn't normally expect to be having to farm this early, but it also gives me an opportunity to use the rotary mill, which is at stage 3 or phase 3, whatever you want to call it, both the city stage. You can get a rotary mill, which if we look, can say exactly what it does. It gives you a further 25% gather rate for workers in the grain fields, which is absolutely brilliant because that means that you need 25% fewer farms. So that's really, really helpful if you can get that. And I've now basically just taken a couple of guys. What's helpful is I always select one that's got 2. So if you look, I've got 2 spearmen, so that's nice and easy. Select them as the minority. These guys will all collect, build and everything at the same rate. So then just select the one that's smaller. I want 2 people basically to be going and building houses, because that means that I can produce at the right speed. So I've now realised that he's coming to have a bit of an attack. We've got 11 slingers decimating him, and I didn't even lose one of the spearmen, but it's far too close to the spearmen, so you can't really attack them. And these guys are close to death, so I thought rather than waste them, I'll just put them in the town centre to be healed as quickly as possible. So it's about now that as I start to run low on stone, that actually threw me a little bit, because I would have been on stone previously, but that little thing, which is something that you really need to be far better than me at, is not getting distracted by little attacks like that then completely throw you off what you're attempting to do. So I've now forgotten that I was in the process of getting some people to build a storehouse here, and instead I'm off to build another farm. Got plenty of food, so that's not the correct thing to do. What I need to be able to do is to build some more slingers, because spearmen are not actually that helpful at the early stages. I mean, they are to have a few of them to attack any cavalry, but he's just tried a quick cavalry attack. He's not going to try another one, so I'm better off with slingers, because they're a bit more versatile, and a large collection of those will able to just completely mow down anyone before they get actually that near to you. So I've now just realised that, and what I've done is got 2 women. One's going to go and be the person who is the bonus for the stone, and one for the metal. So I think anyway, let's have a look. You certainly used to. Does it tell you what that means? No. So you used to get a bonus if you had a woman working alongside men, that the men would work at a higher rate due to that. So I still do that, and also follow the trick that Alexu, I think he's called, on YouTube taught me, which is that you put all of one type of your soldier on one resource and all of your other type of soldier on the other resource. And now that you'll see that I have a bit of stone, 124, I'm going to start producing slingers. I've started producing them from here, but I will start producing slingers that will get onto metal, and the metal is useful for upgrades. I've also again picked the minority there, so you see I've just added a couple more spearmen, but I picked the people that were fewer of, which was the spearmen, got them to go off and build some houses quickly, because at this point we've got plenty of wood, we've got plenty of food. We really just need to start producing troops as quickly as possible. And now that we've got some stone, I'm going to start getting the slingers to come onto the metal. Also sent my cavalryman out, and he's just off hunting. He's picking up the camels, but he's also spotted there's some stone here, and that's something that you'll need to do as well, is to look to make sure that you've got stone available in future. This stone is going to be hotly contested, so I've looked for slightly safer stones, so later on I'll look to get out to here and get to take advantage of that. So if we look at my opponent's situation here, he's still only on 25. That is not as many troops as he needs to be on. He's got a barracks, which is a bit early, because if he's not producing consistently from his storehouse, from his civic centre, he certainly shouldn't be building and using, as I think it is for them, 150 wood and 150 metal. 150 wood, 150 stone. So yeah, that's that. And he's also made a bit of an error there. He's put the one of his, in fact, they're all soldiers that are on the food, so soldiers don't gather food as quickly as female citizens do. So that's worth bearing in mind, that you use the male soldiers to harvest the metal and the stone. The difference between them for chopping wood is negligible, so I mean it's slightly higher for males than it is for females, but it's certainly not the end of the world if you go and get mostly females chopping wood, and particularly later in the game when your men are involved in fighting. That's something that's very helpful, is to have a load of them nearby, able to chop wood and keep your resources flowing, so they will produce the wood and the food that allows you to produce skirmishers or soldiers of any type whatsoever. So I've now started, I've got plenty of population space, I've got lots of resources, so I can now, because I've been really going through producing people at quite a decent rate, and I've got plenty of stone and metal for this early into, for not even being in phase 2 yet. I should be able to pretty much boom straight through, so it's just a case of once I'm in a strong enough position to go into phase 2, I should be able to go pretty much straight to phase 3. I'll just build some towers, a market, and the the blacksmith. And it's another thing, the blacksmith is really important for Britons. They don't have a lot of variety of troops that have different strengths or so on, so I suppose in that sense they're quite sort of primitive. So you need to make sure that your skirmishers and your slingers have got all the upgrades they can, so go for pretty much immediately the ranged infantry upgrades. They cost, I think, 500 wood, 500 food, something like that, and it's well worth getting those immediately. As you can see, because I've got plenty of metal and stone, I'm now in a position where I just really need to get on with building these other town phase structures. But I'm deciding instead to boom my population, just completely throw as many skirmishers into the mix as I can. So you'll see I'm a population of 125 after 14 minutes, which isn't great, but is also not terrible. I would have, yeah, that's because I've had a few mistakes with getting housed, which is another thing that happens with the with the Britons. I find happens quite a lot is that I end up getting housed because their houses only give a +5 population boost, and I'm used to playing as Carthaginians, who give you a 10 boost of population. Now he's just sending his troops in to die one at a time, which is unfortunate for him. Yep, he's just got them set up to go run points. So a thing for Luca to learn here is the ability to produce things in batches, and as was pointed out to me in one of the comments, I think from LJ Miranda, sorry if it wasn't and I've misdistributed this, but you can now change the batch size using the scroll wheel. So if you hold down shift when you click on one of the things, as I'm doing here, you can see it's just scrolling up to train up and down as many as you want. So there's you no longer have to set the amount that you're going to have as your batch size. So it used to be that you did have to, so I would pick 2, and that meant, as I've explained previously, it's more difficult when you're producing women for farms because 2 into 5 doesn't go particularly well, although if you know anything about maths you'll realise it goes into 10 relatively well. So I used to produce 6, then 4, and that way I've got 2 farms started, and by the time the second batch, the smaller batch, was produced, they were able to get plenty of food as quickly as possible. So you see I've got plenty of food, plenty of wood, plenty of metal, and my troops are running in. You can see them just taking people out one at a time. They could probably take these guys out before they finish the tower, but that's not what I'm actually worried about doing. And you see that I've been at phase 2 probably for about 2 minutes, if that, and my armies are frustrating me now by running that when I just want them to collect a load of materials, because it's at the point where I don't know what's going on behind here, and my opponent's rating was 1265, which is a pretty decent rating. It's solid, so you'd expect they would have produced quite a lot. I think he's possibly rated a little high for his abilities at this stage, but that's what comes from from practice. So hopefully Luca will also be able to learn from this video. I did say that I'd put it up online, so if he sees it, then there's a chance that he can hopefully improve his own play. And just so he knows, I used to love playing as Athenians because they had the best archers in the whole world. The ones that come from I can't remember what it's called. If I have a look, I mean, this is just that fence being built was, I believe, an accident. Although it is a very helpful thing to do, and I've started doing it. I've seen a few people doing it, and it's been really helpful. Is if you have got if you're suffering attacks from people just coming around the sides, around the back with cavalry, then absolutely just build a little fence like this, and they can't get through. It's unbelievable. It's really straightforward thing to do, and it really works. So I've got a couple of fortresses on the go. I'm also starting, well, I've completely run out from building these 2 fortresses of stone, so I'm going to need to find some more stone, and that's why I've set off a town centre here right by the stone that I found earlier, and I'll also build a storehouse here next to the other thing, and then I can still produce some slingers. And my opponent has done very similar to what I did, possibly inspired by my mistake, and has built a fence, which is pretty sensible if he's thinking he's going to be attacked. But anyway, I was going to show you these Athenian super troops. Where are they? That's they used to be in like a... Oh, that's the Britons still. That's why I can't find them. Okay, so it's in the one of these things, not the Hellenic Royal, the gymnasium. There you go. So the Scythian archers. Oh, maybe they've been... Let's go. Oh, no, they're still there. So you'll see that the ranged attack is every half a second, which is pretty amazing. So they fire at this phenomenal rate. They've got good attack, and if you get a group of those, sort of 30 to 50 of them, and just no one can get through. So if you've got those guys, then I think you have access as Athenians to a catapult or bolt shooter or something like that, you could basically set up a defensive line anywhere if you get the bolt shooters and the archers lined up with some decent cavalry to offer you as some melee options to defend, then you're pretty much set, and it works. It just works really, really well in terms of being very good defensively. So I realised I forgot to build a market, but I'm building one here, and the idea is that if the game goes on a long time, I can then put another market here, and I've got a pretty safe trading route. So I would just set people to trade. I'm now building the blacksmith. This is far too late. I should have done this probably at about 15-minute mark. So, but wasn't as quick as I needed to be. I'm still waiting to get some more stone. I've got so much food now, it's unreal. I'm used to producing a lot of food because I normally play as I've forgotten, I already have explained who it was, the Carthaginians, and they have access to elephants who are brilliant. So if you have access to elephants, you need a lot of food, and elephants are just a really, really good. In some ways they're better than battering rams, but in some ways battering rams are better. So they're different, but they can be amazing if you can get 10, 12 of those of elephants and a load of archers, particularly as Carthaginians, you have access to quite long range archers. The elephants end up attracting a lot of the enemy fire, and your archers can just wander in behind them quite a long way back, perfectly safe. If you get about 100 archers, they just fire arrows into the enemy, and that's that's the end of that. So I've got my first upgrade for the ranged infantry. I'll get the second one, and also the body armor, and I'm sending some rams in this side because I first sent some rams to this side to attract all of his sword cavalry, and they've done their job, come out and have killed all the rams. Unfortunately though, that was just a diversion, and my actual attack was over here, and I've got so many slingers and troops. There's just no chance of stopping these rams. They're going to just absolutely massacre. None of these troops have got sufficient hack attack. The hoplites have got relatively decent hack attack, but it's nowhere near enough to stop 3 rams when they're under fire from 75. What is that? That's just 85 troops who are attacking them. They're all going to die, and that's the end of that. So that was a brief kind of overview of how Britons can be used. So I mean, I've also set up here. You can see use the hotkeys to set up option 1 as the barracks, and then just produce barracks after barracks after barracks. Had some additional rams come in. They can now take out these, but they won't take down the towers because it transpires that without a town centre they've all fallen under my control, and all he has left are these 3, this horse and maybe one other person. I don't know. That's that. And off my troops goes to try and find his last few people and to kill them. They're pretty merciless in that sense. But that is a quick overview. I didn't get the chance to use the rotary mill, but I'll play some more games as Britons, and if I get the chance, they go on a bit longer, I will I'll use the rotary mill, and I'll hopefully be a lot show a far better sort of performance than that one, but it was playing someone that's relatively new, so it was understandable that it wasn't as difficult a game as it could have been, but it did give you a chance to show a bit more about the civilization. So Muito obrigado. I don't know whether anyone that speaks Portuguese actually watches these videos to the end, but if so, yes, I do speak Portuguese, although not particularly well, and I speak European Portuguese, not Brazilian Portuguese, so I pronounce everything differently because my wife is from Lisboa. So, and I also live in Pequeno Portugal, which is a little Portuguese area of London, which is a wonderful place. And we eat pastel de nata and bacalhau com natas and bacalhau à brás and chouriço assado and sardinhas constantly. It's a very nice place. So if you ever are in London, do make sure that you go to Vauxhall, which is the home of the Portuguese community in Vauxhall, in London. And other than that, I'll stop just talking rubbish now. I hope you enjoyed the video and you've learned a little bit about the Britons, and I will be putting some more videos, as I say, where I'll be actually hopefully involved in more difficult and interesting games. So thank you very much. Obrigado and adeus.